Hi, my name is Andres from Geeks of Color.
How you doing,
Ángel, nice to meet you,
Andres?
man.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Primero que todo, la verdad es que siempre he querido ver este personaje y
¿De
por
verdad?
fin, la verdad que sí.
¿Has sido
Y
fan desde siempre?
sí, desde siempre. Y la verdad es que siempre lo he pedido y verlo en la pantalla grande, especialmente, fue chéverísimo, la verdad que sí.
Ay, qué bueno. ¿Dónde eres?
Mi mamá es colombiana.
Ah, ya, 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 ya. Qué
Sí, sí,
bueno,
sí.
me encanta escuchar eso.
See, yeah, first of all, that's the first thing I gotta ask, man, is like, why do you feel like it was so important to bring specifically this character of Blue Beetle to the big screen?
Well, I mean, I was glad that's the decision they made before I came in because
Mhm,
this is the third iteration, right?
mhm,
Dan Garrett, Ted Cord, and as fun as all of those are, it's the different eras. Dan Garrett happened in that era of discovery, where archaeologists are the heroes and that type of thing. And that's all fun. And then Ted Court comes when billionaires are the heroes. And that's okay, especially Ted Court because of how quirky he is and how not you expect a billionaire he is. Um, but we have seen those characters before, and we have seen those characters played by the same race before. So for it was refreshing that they chose to do the Blue Beetle story based on a Mexican American kid from the barrio, from an immigrant family, who's just trying to find his place in this world, and things don't work to his advantage because of who he is in this world. And that's something that I can relate to. I'm closer to Jaime than I'll ever be to a billionaire. So finally having somebody that comes from a neighborhood like mine, that looks like me, whose family acts and looks like mine, uh, bring his values to the table and have those values be part of his superpowers, and those superpowers be anything that you can imagine I can create and have fun with pop culture references. Who else can do that?
yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things that's becoming more of a conversation is bringing more Latino superheroes as leads in their own films. But there's also a conversation about not having enough Latino superheroes in general in comic books to
It's true.
actually do that. Do you feel like there is this kind of push and pull as far as having enough original Latino superhero characters in the comics to bring to the big screen, or do you feel like there is enough?
No, no. I mean, if we're talking about ratio, there isn't, not at
Yeah.
all. Um, but I think back in the day, they might have tried to do some things, and a lot of those characters are now shelved, and it worth considering what they would look like if they would have a new run. Um, uh, because I understand what you're saying. It's not like about having Latinos play heroes. You have Oscar Isaac playing a British guy, or which is all good. That's all fine. But
Mhm.
as a Latino heroes, well, I don't think we have enough. On Miles Morales, which is a phenomenal uh story, but it's on the animation front. And in the live action side, it's even harder.
Yeah.
So and as leads, because we see them as sidekicks or as villains, but we never see them as leads. So I think there's opportunities, to find either, how you say, refresh some of the older superheroes that are shelved, or embrace the ones that exist and give them the love they deserve, or which could be even better, create new ones.
Create new ones. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of them, especially DC, because I've kept up with DC comics for a little bit. A lot of them are iterations of other
Mhm,
original characters. For example, Jessica Cruz is a Green Lantern.
mhm.
Wildcat Yolanda is the previous Wildcat. She's the new Wildcat. We have the Question now with Renee Montoya. So these are like different iterations of those characters. And then I know that James Gunn is bringing Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl.
That's Hot Girl, yeah.
Yeah, which is the Kendra Hawkgirl. Is there one of those characters that you feel like if there's one that you want to pinpoint, that's a good one that they should invest in from those?
Um, I mean, Isabella Merced is already a go. Uh,
Yeah,
so I just wonder if I don't know if I mean like I'm happy for her and all that stuff. I don't know if if her backstory is also Latino, you know.
yeah.
Um or is she just playing uh a character who happens to the actress is Latina, but the character is I don't know. The one that I know that I think there's a way to humanize him uh and have him be the hero of his story. You know, it's who I feel he is Latino from his origin. I just think that he's misunderstood if you see it from the eyes of a billionaire. Is Bane.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great one.
because
Yeah,
Bane is
because
like he comes from the Caribbean.
yeah,
He comes from an island. He comes from oppression, um, and I think there's something there that he could be the hero of his own story. Whether it is, you know, I know he's Batman's villain, but I think there's more to it. And I think there's something there that he could be the hero of his own story. Whether it is, you know, I know he's Batman's villain, but I think there's more to it.
absolutely. I feel like that's a great one. Kind of going off that point as far as what you were mentioning before, when it comes to fictionalizing the Latino identity, I know we have a lot of awesome Latino actors who are taking lead roles, usually in other universes, whether it's a Star Wars or a
Mm-hmm.
Dune
Mm-hmm.
or some other Game of Thrones, for example. Do you feel like this fictionalizing of the like Latino identity doesn't just start and end with the casting, but there should be some sort of reflection within that character?
I I think two things can exist, you know. I don't see why a lot of fiction is inspired in history, and I don't see why the fiction. I mean, I understand why some fictions don't go that route because eventually you end up realizing that you are closer to being part of the empire than the republic, you know, which is kind of like what happens. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, you're in this story and the rebels and the empire, and yeah, you shoot for the rebels, but I think I live in the empire.
Yeah,
So sometimes it's hard to reconcile
yeah,
some truth. But I think that's the beauty of fiction too. I think that with fiction you can we did it with Blue Beetle, you know, yeah, Palmera City doesn't exist. Yeah, it looks like Miami, but it's not Miami. Oh yeah, it's shot in Puerto Rico, but it's not Puerto Rico yet. The circumstances that the family faces are very close to, if not exactly what a lot of marginalized communities face, and those marginalized communities are mostly populated by Black and Latinos. So, or like the backstory of Carfax, which is intrinsically the Latino experience told through the eyes of a child soldier victim of uh, United States interventionism in Latin America through the School of the Americas. That's a real fact, but living in a fictionalized world. I find that interesting, the same way
yeah.
that, you know, the show Watchmen used the Tulsa massacres as a foundation for the story. I like those approaches. So to your point, I think all of them can exist. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be one side. And I think there's value also in taking it from those experiences. Uh, Star Wars was that.
I feel like that's kind of to wrap up a little bit. That's my last point. I'll make it a point instead of a question because I just want to give you credit to make Jaime not just a Latino, but a Latino revolutionary, a Latino that
Yes,
fights against the status quo, that fights against the
correct,
capitalistic structures, the colonial structures. That to
correct,
me was so important to not see a Latino soldier or a Latino cop.
correct.
To see a revolutionary to me was like
100%.
that's what hit me the hardest in this movie. So I gotta say, I
We
appreciate that so much,
we
man.
did we
Honestly.
did it we did that intentionally.
Yeah.
Garrett, the writer, and I, we feel that way. We feel like we're more than what society expects or demands of us.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying society in the terms of values. I'm saying society in the terms of what the hegemony is saying that we should be or how we should behave in their eyes. And um, Jaime reversed that. Blue Beetle might as well be a superhero with strong anti-imperialist sentiment,
Yeah.
uh,
And I feel like
which
that's important.
is important because that's what Latin America is.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I feel like the Latino identity has been kind of co opted nowadays. But
Yeah,
seeing that and seeing a revolutionary approach, someone who does fight against that and stands with the people meant a lot to me, man. And Anke, la verdad,
yeah.
this was an awesome opportunity to talk to you and a
Gracias,
great time.
excelente,
So thank you so much for your
excelente
time, man. I appreciate
punto.
it.
You understood.
Lo agradezco, man. La verdad que gracias por todo y la película está
Gracias a ti.
chéverísimo.
Gracias, brother.
Que tenga un buen
Chao.
día.
Igualmente.